For inner city Bostonians, Touch 106.1 FM has been a reliable source of programming geared to local sensibilities, from smooth jazz to throwback hip-hop to calls for social and spiritual uplift. Now, though, the station has fallen silent, taken off the air by the federal government. Adam Riley has more.
Federal agents hauled broadcasting equipment out of Touch 106.1 FM yesterday as a small crowd watched, and station co-founder Charles Clemens waxed indignant.
This radio station, Touch 106.1 FM, has found lost children, has helped people that was committing suicides, has found lost grandparents. How can you, with a conscious mind, shut down a positive entity, a positive radio station like this?
Well, for one thing, Touch 106.1 was broadcasting illegally.
We are unlicensed. Is point blank. We are unlicensed.
But that's been the case for years. So why shut the station down now? Court documents show the raid was prompted by Clemens' failed run for mayor last year. But Clemens tells Beat the Press they don't want this community to be inspired. They don't want this community to flourish. As of last night, Touch 106.1 was broadcasting again online. Clemens has an ally in Governor Patrick, who's appeared on the station and says he's incredibly disappointed in this week's raid. Now Clemens is vowing to create a tsunami of protest and take his case all the way to the White House. So, Emily, on the one hand, I am sympathetic to Charles Clemens. It was kind of tough watching the antenna being taken out of his station along with other equipment. I think they fill an important niche. There's no question about that. On the other hand, I've talked to Charles Clemens about this yesterday and today, and I haven't been able to figure out if he ever actually submitted a license application. He told me today he meant to submit one last fall, but they have no record of it at the FCC. And then he added, and you have to realize I was in campaign mode at the time. There's a new law on the books that's supposed to let people like Clemens get licenses. I don't know if he took the steps he should.
Yeah, they might not have given him 106.1 FM because that's a really premium spot on the dial. Right. But I just have to say, your federal government at work, it's nauseating. You know, these guys going in there with the
U.S. Marshals jackets.
U.S. Marshals jackets and carrying his antenna gear off. I mean, it's just, you know, instead of knocking on the door and saying, Mr. Clemens, you know, we're going to put you out of, you know, here's what you have to do if you want to apply. But to carry this stuff off?
They had done that. They had gone and knocked on the door and said they had filed a complaint with him. He didn't pay the $17,000. That was in 2008. Yeah. It is now 2014. So that's a long gap. I mean, you can argue, hello, everybody knows it's unlicensed. So that's the first time I've ever heard him say it out loud. So why now? You can argue that. But they have shut down other unlicensed stations.
And they did two others yesterday.
And by the way, this is the job of the FCC is to regulate the people's airwaves. I'm not saying that what they're doing it was not fantastic. I'm not saying they didn't have a great community exchange. And, you know, everybody should want to have that much support from the community and that much interest. But at the same time, there are some regulations that guide us and guide everybody else here in the marketplace. And so what I would love is why didn't somebody raise the $17,000 and keep the station on?
This has happened before in Boston. In the 90s, we had Radio Free Alston that Steve Provisor used to run. And it was the same thing. They had political debates and everything. And then all of a sudden the FCC came in and shut them down. I'm a little less sympathetic to the government regulation imperative than maybe Callie is, because I just think that the whole regime is really the result of powerful lobbyists from the National Association of Broadcasters. And unfortunately, NPR has been a big force in fighting against low-power community stations. On the other hand, I have to say, we are at a moment when the FCC is allowing some of these low-powered FM frequencies to go up for bid specifically for community broadcasting. It's really too bad that Mr. Clemens didn't get his act together and file one of those applications.
If I may, I don't want to suck up too much time. I just want to point out that Reverend Bruce Wall has applied for a broadcast license, and part of his argument is that since WILD went away, there is no station that really caters to a certain community one that is, needing some communication in the way that Charles Clemens has provided on touch. He pronounces it 06, by the way. I learned today. And so, but Reverend Bruce Wall has some other issues going on for himself right now. And right now, he's in competition with LaSalle College and also the city of Boston for this one local license. So I don't know.
Well, we don't know what went on in the 6 years between 2008 and now, where clearly, he hadn't paid for this license. But it seems to me that there's got to be a way for the government to bend over backward before closing down and dragging off equipment from a radio station. I mean, everybody concerned about the freedom of the press is only going to see what happens in that moment.
Right.
And there must have been other things that could have been done besides sending the marshals out.
Well, but just to echo what Kelly said, I mean, the claim is that they sent, a bill to him, not a bill, affidavit, what's the right term, requesting that he pay the $17,000 he'd been fined via registered mail. He told me today he never received it. I don't know what the truth is, but the government says they tried to take steps and extend him as much rope as they could.
And I don't understand, since they alerted Governor Patrick beforehand, and Governor Patrick said, don't do this, can't we work something out? Now he's trying to work something out. Why that couldn't have been in the works before we get to this point.
Should have tipped off Charles Clemens, because you can move that radio station in an hour to somebody else's basement.
That's right.